Alrighty, I might, while you're still doing that, or if you're finished, that's great. I might start because my session is just going to fit in. So I might be a racehorse. But that's okay because that just means you get more information. I am talking on communication and behaviour. Bam. All right, for those who don't know me, I'll introduce myself. My name is Lindsay Kennedy Wood. I am the education consultant at Down Syndrome Queensland. I have been immersed with individuals with Down syndrome since I was a little girl. I actually grew up with a little girl with Down syndrome and always been super passionate about children with Down syndrome. I then went to study, and while I was studying, I actually got to babysit and look after 2 individuals with Down syndrome and got to learn sign language through them. I actually got to teach them sign language. Then I went to university, graduated, did 15 years of work. My husband saw this job and said, look, your new job. Didn't even need to think about it. It was just so ingrained in who I am. So I am extremely passionate about your children, but about all children. And I think that all children need to be given the best opportunity to be all that they can be in life. And that's my little spiel, but I'll keep going, okay? But just know I am passionate, so if you ever have questions, please do, reach out to us in any way you can. So today I'm here to talk to you about communication and behaviour. And I believe that the 3 are very closely intertwined, and actually this Venn diagram demonstrates how they all overlap to one another. And as Ainsley and Lindy said, all behaviour is communication. What's the child trying to say through their communication, through their behaviour? And I'm going to be talking to teachers about, some of the things that our students are trying to get across. And we know that for some of our students, communication is a huge barrier because they don't have the full vocabulary, or they might be completely non-verbal or limited in their verbal capacity. So they're finding a way to get their needs, wants and desires met, and they're doing it through behaviour. So what are some of the unwanted behaviours that we see? We see refusal and defiance. We can see ignoring. Avoidance strategies, running, huge. Violent or physical outbursts, so the hitting, the kicking, the stabbing. I have had a few calls about stabbing with a pencil. Attention-seeking behaviour, so whether it's outbursts or just doing something to get the attention. Spitting, hair pulling, their own or others. Hiding under desks, behind playgrounds, wherever that might be. Verbal outbursts like screaming and swearing, or just generally making a loud noise, and then the stimming of the repetitive behaviours. So what are some of the reasons that we see these behaviours? We see them because they're learnt behaviours. It's gotten me what I wanted, so I'm just going to keep doing it. It worked for me. They might be anxious. If they're in an environment where they're not feeling safe, they might get anxious and then show some of those behaviours. They might have past or current trauma going on in their life. And that's especially true for some of our kids who've had a lot of medical issues. If they've had a lot of medical issues, there can be underlying trauma that we're not aware of. Well, not that we're not aware of. Sorry, I forgot I was talking to the parents. Sorry, I went to the teachers. You would be aware of it, but you need to, make that known to the school that, there's some trauma that maybe, is impacting on their ability to assimilate into this environment. Low expectations. So if a child is bored, they're going to have behaviours. Verbal instructions are too hard, too many, not simplified, not given with visual stimulus, that type of thing. They might have sensory under or overload, so they might need the sensory break where they can just calm themselves down. Or there might be too much noise going on, so I need to remove myself, which is very common at lunchtime. So the running and then the sensory overload is very common. I do deal with a lot of, where do they line up in the undercover area? Is that noisy? Because my undercover area was super noisy. Yeah. And then he runs. Yeah, because he's sensory overloaded. Like, you need to meet him somewhere else. Meet him at the office or wherever it is that's going to be a bit more quiet. Pick him up from the library on your way past, that type of thing. Sleep issues. We know that there can be issues around, our children being able to, and I'm going to say our children because I think of them as my own, but, around our children being able to sleep at night. So if they haven't slept the night before or they're sick, they're more likely to show some behaviours. Frustration, I'm not getting what I want, I'm not getting what I need, I'm getting frustrated. And communication. So all of this, I would say, is down to not being able to communicate what I'm needing right now. So why is communication important? And I'm going fast, sorry. It leads to unwanted behaviour and frustration. It's a basic human right. And communication doesn't have to be verbal. They just need to be able to communicate. We're creating a bigger world for them because they can communicate with more than just myself, my family, whoever, when they can communicate in a way that's appropriate to them. We're offering a more broader world for them. They're getting their wants, their needs and their desires met. It's an inclusion and an understanding of the core of who the individual is if we can meet those needs. And it leads to needs it for a flourishing life. So it leads to a flourishing life in that we've got a much wider world. We've got much more. There's more opportunities afforded to us through that. So all behaviour is communication. It's a way of gaining something or avoiding it. I want the toy. If I behave, I'm going to get the toy. The kid's going to give it to me. If I want the teacher's attention, if I make a lot of noise, I'm going to get the teacher's attention. I don't want to do this worksheet. I know if I hide under my desk, I'm going to get out of doing this worksheet. So it's about preempting the precursor to the behaviour and levelling that out so that the unwanted behaviour never needs to be displayed. So some of the common ones that we get calls around can be things like, and this is different from home to school because obviously children are much more calm and comfortable in a school, and some children might hold it together at school, but when they get home, they're terrors. And as a teacher, I used to get it all the time. How come they're so good for you? They're absolute horror at home. I'm like, that's great. You've taught them brilliant social skills. They're comfortable with you. You're their safe space. So you might get some behaviours, and that's an indication to you that something might be wrong at school as well. So if you're getting lots of behaviours at home, it can be like a little light bulb going off to what's happening at school, what are they not getting met. All right, so things like physical outbursts at siblings or around the house. They might punch a hole in the wall, kick the wall, bang their head against a door, that sort of thing. What are they trying to communicate? They're trying to communicate. They either trying to gain attention from yourselves or someone around them, or they want the attention to stop. They want to achieve something. They want the physical side of it. So it might be a toy, TV, a game, the iPad, whatever it is. If I behave, I know mum's going to give in. I know dad's going to give in to me. And the frustration of not being understood. Physical outbursts like screaming and that sort of thing. They're trying to get attention, or they're trying to make the attention stop. They're trying to gain something they want, or they're frustrated. A tantrum in the shopping mall. This can be a case of sensory overload, so we've got to make sure that where we're going, we preempt it. If you've got a child who has sensory issues and, responds to loud noises or responds to busyness and that type of thing, you need to be aware of that. Doing social stories around what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like. What are we doing too? And I'm going to talk about visuals too. So first we're going to H&M, then we're going to Coles, and then we can come home. So I'm setting a schedule too. They might need a break. They might be tired. They might be frustrated. They might be wanting to get that unmet need hit. So do you start to see like all of these behaviours kind of have a similar undertone to them? There's a communication they're trying to let you know about. Refusal to do homework. They're tired. They've done a whole day of school. They come home. They've had to deal with all of that. You're their safe space. I don't want to do it. The work might be too hard or too easy. They might not have the understanding needed to do it, or there's just a lack of motivation. Why am I doing this? What am I doing it for? So all your child's behaviour is communication, as I said, and I'll say it lots of times. And that's one of the things I always say to schools. They'll ring me and they'll say, we've got some huge behaviour issues. And the first question I'll ask is, what's the communication like of the child? And 9 times out of 10, it will be, it's limited verbally, or we can't really understand all that they're trying to get across. Okay, right, let's talk about communication. Let's put behaviour to the side and let's talk communication, because that's where the gap is. So it's just about, are you listening? Look at her beautiful blue eyes. I've never noticed that before. Wow. Okay. So what is the behaviour trying to achieve? So what we talk about, function and form of behaviour. So a function of a behaviour is it's trying to achieve something. What's the function? It's getting something. It's getting away from something. The form is how it's portrayed. So it's portrayed through the screaming at you, through the throwing things, through the swearing, through the rejection, through the refusal. That's the form. The form's wrong, the function is not. They're trying to get something met. So that is perfectly acceptable. What we need to do is work on the form that they achieve this through. Does everyone understand that? Yes? Okay, good. Perfect. I'm like, I don't know how else to explain it. Okay, so in schools, who's heard of a behaviour intervention plan, a BIP, or a functional behaviour assessment, an FBA? So children with a disability, and I don't want to scare anyone, especially if you're new to schooling, but children with a disability are twice as likely to get suspended than their counterparts and their peers. And that goes for expulsion as well. Therefore, they're more likely to end up on a BIP, the behaviour intervention plan, or getting a FBA, a functional behaviour assessment. Now, these are big words. What it means is we're looking at the behaviour and trying to figure out how to change it. In step 2 of a functional behaviour assessment, I'm just giving you some information so you understand how it works. But in step 2, there's called the ABC data collection. So you can do this at home, especially if you're having lots of issues at school. You can ask the teacher to do some data collecting around the behaviour, and try and find out what is happening before the behaviour, the antecedent. So the antecedent is what's happening prior to the behaviour. And I'll give you an example of an actual student I had. Then what's the behaviour? And following, obviously, what's the consequence? So to give you an example, I had a student who was on the spectrum, and he was constantly suspended. It was never in my care. I was his teacher. It was never in my care. I had a good relationship with him. He was a hard kid. I had a good relationship. But he was constantly suspended. And I started to look at one school, and I started to look at when the suspension started to happen. And I could start to see some, give me a word. Thank you. Some patterns start to occur. And what it was on a Wednesday. So Wednesdays were not a good day for this boy. And I looked at the timetable and I thought, well, what am I doing wrong? What's happening on a Wednesday? He had music. I thought, okay. But he was getting suspended like at all different times. So sometimes it was in the morning, sometimes it was before morning tea, sometimes it was after morning tea. There was no sort of rhyme or reason. And sometimes it was just during music and he was taken to the office and that's when the incident happened. Not that he was suspended, but that's when the incident happened. I spoke to this little boy because I had a relationship with him. I said, what happened? And he goes, I hate that teacher. Hate that teacher. I thought, okay. So I thought, okay, well, sometimes we like people, sometimes we don't. That's just life. So I went to the teacher and the teacher's like, oh yeah, I don't like that boy. He's such a pain. And I thought, there we go. That's it. So then I went to the deputy and I said, right, we need to move music classes. This child can't be with this teacher. And the change was instant. Remove him from the thing that was causing him the problem. His behaviour was communication. I don't want to go to music. Don't make me go to music. His behaviour, the form it was taking was unacceptable, but the function was what he needed. So we've got to look at it. So when we start to collect the data, we start to see it. Alrighty. Behaviour also has a function, or take a seat. So it's sensory. So, are they trying to gain something sensory? Are they trying to escape something? Are they trying to attain attention? So, yourself, the teacher, another peer, the cool kid in the class, whatever it is. Or are they trying to receive something tangible? So a toy, a book, whatever it is that they are requiring. So what we need to remember is we need to honour the child's behaviour as the only way they know how to communicate their need in that moment and look at it. If they could use words, they would. So as parents, you guys have a plethora of options, and most of you will have been in early intervention, ECDP, and and you will have a communication set. So you'll be on the track to have something in place for your child, whether it's verbal or whatever. But some of the options that we do have around Auslan, keyword sign. Keyword sign is a really good one because it is so usable, user-friendly. Communication books around POD and PECs, and then communication boards and lanyards. So as most of you would be aware, Auslan is a whole language. It's used in the deaf community, and it's signing the whole sentence or the whole vocabulary. There's no verbal incorporated. We always recommend incorporating verbal because it is the universal way to communicate. So if your child is able to verbalise, we would always advocate that you go down that route and incorporate verbal into whatever communication you are endeavouring down. Keyword sign is just where the main word is signed. So it's like I want coffee. So you would say I want coffee, and it would just be the two signs, but I'm still verbalizing all the rest of the words. So the verbal is incorporated into it. Heaps of online resource that you can do. You don't need to, you'd be doing it through speech pathologists and that sort of thing. Then there's the communication books. Now, a lot of people are are sent down this track. They're great. They're brilliant. They've got 7,000 vocabulary words in them, that type of thing. However, they're like this big when they're complete. So you send a preppy to school with a vocab book, backpack, lunchbox, water bottle, and then they've got to bring it home again as well. It can become quite cumbersome. The other thing too is that the teacher has to be educated in the track and the path it takes, and it can be varied for the child. And then you think, well, that's good, the teacher just needs training, but you've got to do that every year because the teacher's going to be different every year. If you train a teacher aide and then get the teacher aide to follow the student, then you run into the issue of the child becoming segregated from their peers because they've got the teacher aide who's the only one who can communicate with them. I'm not saying no to pod books. I'm just saying be mindful of some of the things that they can bring up as well. You can do the online ones, which is Prolo, Quotago and Compass by Pod. There are some free versions as well. These are half price during April, in case you want to know, because it's Autism Month. But they still need to be taught. Once you've bought Prolo, Quotago, you can put it on 5 devices, so then the child's not having to traipse it to and from school. The school can have one, and any updates that the speech pathologist does, you just update the iPad and it all just goes, it's just updated on all the devices. Again, though, you've got to have that teaching strategy of the pathway that they need to follow and how to use it. So they are absolutely an option. Anyone here actually using Pod? Yep. Begrudgingly, Cass. No, and you know what? For some people, it's the best thing. Absolutely. We're not saying no. We're just saying be aware that this can be the hinder in education. All right, and then there's communication boards and lanyards. Now, these are free downloads from our website. This can just be something that's popped on the desk, and it can be popped on everyone's desk so that every child feels like they've got it. It's universal. It's not the child with Down syndrome has it. It's every child's got it. I need to go to the toilet. I can just point to it when I don't feel like I can verbalise it or sign it or whatever. So this just a quick reference on the table. They can just make it out of Velcro with felt. So it's just Velcro and felt, board maker. Lanyards. So lanyards are brilliant during playtime. So for children who struggle with the verbal, pop it in the playtime folder. Any teacher who is on duty, because that's when most behaviours happen, not when they're with their teacher who they've got a relationship with and actually like. It's with the non-contact teachers and the supply teachers and the teachers on the playground duty who don't know the child, who don't understand how to communicate or what they're trying to communicate. So these are fantastic, and we advocate for schools to make them and use them. We do sell them, but it's not about, making a profit. I don't think we make anything. If you can offer a way for them to communicate, I need the toilet. And it's about, you would simplify it to start with, but making sure they're wearing it so the child can communicate their wants, their needs, their desires, because otherwise we're going to get some behaviours. And then there's communication boards. I saw a school use this, and I thought it was a fantastic opportunity for other children to communicate with the child who might have the communication issues. And this is something that's made of vinyl, and it can go in all weather, and you just roll it up and roll it out. It can go to non-contact, that type of thing. I thought, wow, what a great opportunity for other children to see it and be exposed to it and that type of thing. All right, so my big focus on communication and behaviour is the need for visual supports. I'm sure everyone in this room can acknowledge how much your child needs the visual. They learn whole word sight words better than they learn phonics. Not saying they don't learn phonics, it's much easier for them to learn whole word sight words. The static information that stays there is so important for our children. 65% of individuals are visual learners, so some of you in here are visual learners. 100% of children with Down syndrome are visual learners. So I've created some packs, which I'm going to hand out. What I've done is I've created visuals. Honestly, guys, it took me like 3 straight days to make these. But have a look, use them, play around with them. What I want you to see is how easy they are, and I want to walk you through some of them. So one, you know how to use them, and they're absolutely usable at home. But 2, you can advocate that they're used at school as well. All right, so there's some specific to you guys, and there's some specific to school, but I think it's just the schedules that are specific to school. So we're just going to go through them quickly, and then I'll hand out the packs. Don't steal them. Don't steal anything in them. They're all free download. So go to our website. All of the visual supports are free for download. So just head on over. Except the morning and afternoon routine, they haven't been put up yet because I've only just created them. But they will be as of, shall I say next week? Am I digging myself a hole? Okay. All right. So it's the best way for a child to communicate and for you to communicate with your child. So we've got first, next, weekly schedules, which you can do, choice boards, break cards, I'm working for, morning routine, afternoon routine, individual schedules and procedures. So we've got first, next, and now then. Do you want me to hand them out now, or are you going to fiddle the whole time? What do you reckon? Can I trust you? Yes. Can you hand them out, Amanda? Thank you. I mean, Cass. I looked at Amanda and it's just 5. So you're going to have to like share because I thought you'd be at tables, but that's okay. Oh, and the timers. Thanks. Thanks for dropping that. Oh, I need 1. Can I have 1 pack? So I can just show how to use it. Okay. Okay, so here's the pack. It's got the label on it of what's in it. So I want to walk you through how to use them, because one of the things that I'm finding is that teachers, and I'm going to say parents too, I haven't had conversations with a lot of parents, but teachers go, yeah, I'm going to download it and I'm going to use it, and then it sits there because they don't actually know how to use it and they're not consistent in their approach to using it. So, and these aren't only for the child with Down syndrome or the child with ASD. These are for children who need the visual, which is 65%. I would be using some of these with all of my children. I would be printing one off for every child that I could. So we're going to start with the first and next. So this is your first and next. Some of you will have Velcro and some of you will have Povo Blue Tack. This one's Povo Blue Tack because honestly, Velcro costs a lot of money. Right, so the first and next is you put a non-preferred activity, so something the child does not want to do. Might be having a bath. It might be eating dinner. It might be doing their homework. Whatever it is, you put on the first one, followed by the preferred activity, something they want to do. Now, with the preferred activity, I will talk about choice boards. It's important to offer the child the choice of their preferred activity to give them that acknowledgement that you're a person who has an idea of what you want. I'm not going to dictate to you. You can choose what you want. So you put it on here. Now, depending on your child, and you know your child best, you might then need to incorporate the use of a timer. So we're going to do homework for 10 minutes. That's all. This isn't the only timer. These are just the ones Down syndrome Queensland sell. You can use any timer. Aldi had some cute like bunny rabbits and horses and that type of thing. So whatever floats your boat. Pop it on. So we say, okay, I'm going to use Johnny. No one's kid's named Johnny in here, is it? No, sorry if your kid's named Johnny. Okay, so Johnny, we're going to do homework for 10 minutes, and then you're going to get your computer time. Okay? So we're going to do homework, then computer time. Okay? Homework, then computer time. Okay, homework. Let's put it on the timer. And obviously you'd need Velcro. Set the timer. I'm getting old. Okay? Okay, and I press the button. Now Johnny can see this. Now there are different timers that are more visual. Johnny can see this, homework. Now I can pop on there if Johnny needs that visual reminder that next is computer time. I can pop that on there too. Or I can keep it off so that he physically can only see homework. My focus is homework. I'm not going to fixate on the fact that computer time is coming. And when you're starting out, you might have Johnny who doesn't do any homework. So you're not going to give him 10 minutes of homework. You're going to give him a minute of homework or 30 seconds of homework and then reward it because you're training them. This is how it's going to operate. We've got nothing. And this is what I say to teachers. Teachers are like, but she doesn't sit for even a minute. I'm like, okay, let's get her sitting for 30 seconds. Isn't that better than nothing? So you're making the small steps. We talk about inch stones, not milestones. So we're making those small steps. So, and then once Johnny's finished his, what was he doing? Homework. You can either swap it. And I recommend using a timer also for the preferred activity because, and I say this to teachers all the time, because you'll forget and you'll start cooking dinner or you'll do something else and then an hour's gone and Johnny's been on the computer for an hour. So have that reminder, set it on your phone, whatever you need to do, that you need to stop, go get Johnny off. Okay, Johnny, and then start again. What do you want next? Next, we want the shower, then we're going to watch Paw Patrol, whatever it is, okay? Does everyone understand that one? I know I sound like I'm like dumbifying it, but what I'm saying is I just want people to understand how to actually use these. Then, once they've got the first and next, and you feel like, okay, we can extend it out, and I can get 2 non-preferred activities out of you. So tonight, we're going to do homework, shower, and then you can have your TV. So you want to try and extend it out. We're trying to set them up for life, trying to set them up for school and that type of thing. Alrighty? So that's first and next. Now, here's some examples of some timers. Now, this one they use in schools, and it's great because it moves up from the green to the red, and it flashes as it's moving. So it counts down. You can set how long the timer goes for. So you might see schools use these. You guys don't need to worry about it because they're like $100. That's another version of it. There's these versions. Ours broke, so I'm not sure how good they are. I'm not sure that they don't just break straight away. Yeah, break straight away. I don't know. Then we've got the bookmark timers. If you want help on how to use a bookmark timer, some of them are a bit tricky. I can show you what they look like. They've got mini timers, which flash as well, but it's just green. And then you've got the fun timers, or like the drop timers, and that type of thing that you can get multiple timers. So here's some examples. So first we're going to eat lunch. Then you're going to go to sport, because that's the preferred activity. I don't like to eat. I want to go play. We're going to do reading, and then we're going to have sensory break. Or we're going to do maths, and then we're going to have some television. These are just board maker pictures. If you search, you can find lots of pictures. We have some pictures on the internet, on our website, not all of them. So you'll need to, make it your own. Weekly schedules. So these are good if your child is capable of looking over a week and wanting to understand what's happening for his or her week, to put on what's actually happening. So some of you have holidays, we're on holidays this week, or, you're going to sport, or you're going to after school care, you've got swimming, building that independence. And then with the swimming type thing, you can say, well, look, you've got swimming today, you better go pack your swimming bag. Giving them that responsibility if they're capable to do that, and that might require more visuals. The days match the colours. So Wednesday is blue, so it matches. So again, that visual assimilation. You're going to Nanny and Pops, you're going to swing. If you don't call them Nanny and Pop, you might have to change the name. That's just one for my daughter. I actually use all these with my daughter, so, totally usable. Have them all up all over the house. So that's another one. We can build autonomy, increase their independence, and it's very visual and static. They can refer back to it, individualised to your child, and it can be used to build that stability over the holiday period, that sort of thing, and to build up the school readiness. So when they're on holiday, you can do it like that. Alrighty, I choose. So again, incorporating those into our... Wow, I don't have an I choose. How did that happen? There you go. I choose. So giving 3 choices, but what you want to do in the choices is you want to give 3 choices you're happy for them to have. So you're not going to say, okay, well, we're going to go to Dreamworld, SeaWorld, or we can make an art project. You know, if you don't have the money to go to Dreamworld and SeaWorld, don't offer those as choices. You know, so it might be that you're going to watch TV, you might watch a movie, we can go for a bike ride, or we can go visit Nanny and Pop. 3 choices you're happy to do. So you're still having a say. You're still the boss, you're still having a say, but you're creating a choice for that child, so that child's going to engage with it more. So when the child chooses it, they're going to feel like they have had a say. I've got to choose what I want, and that type of thing. Now we do it around choices of activities and also foods. So children, especially at lunchtime in the classrooms and schools, they might have a packet of chips, a fruit bar and a sandwich. Well, what are they going to eat? They're going to eat the packet of chips and forget the rest. So I say to teachers, use it. Say you can have your sandwich or your fruit bar first, and then you can have your chips. So we want to encourage the choice. You get a choice, which one are you going to eat? So we're still giving them that choice. So activities or food. Again, which one do you want? They can rip it off. And it's their choice. Break and timeout cards. Now, these can be used at home as well. It's to build that sensory regulation, that emotional regulation for a child. How they do it can be different. So there's lots of, we've got 3 different options. A lanyard's good if you're going out and you're going to the shops, and your child might decide that they need a sensory break or they need to have some quiet time. They don't need to be able to talk to you. They don't need to be able to express it. Just showing you the card is telling you that they need that break. You might simply just put something in place when you need a sensory break, you do this. Whatever it is you do. You know, some people just touch their nose, you know, that sort of thing. You need to have something in place so your child can communicate to you when they're heightened that they actually need that break. Now in school we advocate for these sorts of things because they can be used with multiple students. It doesn't need to be isolated. Something like this is very small, so they simply go and they swap it. They swap this, and then they might have a sensory break. And I always say give the child a timer as well. So their sensory break isn't unending. Their sensory break is 5 minutes. Their sensory break is 10 minutes. They might go and visit their favourite teacher, or they might, take themselves off to their safe spot or whatever it is. But it's got a time limit on it as well. Alrighty. Oh look, there's my I choose. I didn't lose it. So there's 3 different options. There's the 8, the 4, and this one. Or just make up, something that you do at home, but giving them that opportunity to show their self-regulation for their emotional regulation. Reward cards, great way to change an unwanted behaviour to a wanted behaviour. The best way to change a behaviour is to create a visual social story and to display what is your desired outcome. Never put on it what you don't want to see, so never put the negative on it. So, Johnny won't hit his friends because all Johnny's going to hear is hit. Oh, okay, yeah, I can hit. Yeah, that's good. So you want to say Johnny will use nice hands, and you'd have a picture of Johnny with his nice hands. Johnny will use nice words, so you'd have a picture of Johnny talking nicely to a friend, that type of thing. These come in 3 and 5, so then depending on what you want the behaviour to be, I would start at 3, see it 3 times. They pick the reward, again, giving them that I choose moment. And when they display the behaviour consistently and without intervention, you know the behaviour has been changed. Doesn't mean it's forever. You might have to revisit it again and revisit the social story. Never throw a social story out. You might have to revisit it again because, once you start focusing on a different behaviour, you might see an uprise in the other behaviour again. So then you revisit it. You only ever focus on one behaviour at a time. And you know, like when you're dealing, as some of you will be dealing with schools, and they'll be like, okay, so we need to change this behaviour and this behaviour and this behaviour. And they try and do them all at once, and there's no change. Because your child can't do unending amount of things. They need to have one focus. There needs to be something visual put in place, and there needs to be positive reinforcement. Right, this is one I use at home with my child, and I love it because it's built autonomy for her in that I say, go and do your chores in the morning. So eating breakfast, getting dressed, you might have 2 on there. You might just want them to make their bed and eat breakfast, and you'll do the rest, or you'll help with the rest. Once they're done, they move it from the bottom to the top. So there's that visual recognition that I'm succeeding and I'm getting along here. So I'm moving along and I'm accomplishing things. So like that. It doesn't need to be done in a strict order. They can jump from here to there, from anywhere. When you first get up, you might eat breakfast, or you might eat breakfast just before you leave. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Just moving, that visual moving of the thing, of the activity. And then you've got the afternoon routine. So when they come home from school, they're tired, they've had a big day. Some of your students, some of your kids will probably, fall asleep in front of the TV when they get home. Trying to get them to do anything is going to be hard work. Well, let's just work on one thing. Let's unpack your bag, put your lunchbox on the side. That might be the only thing you do. But then we can build up, because we want to build in that ability to be a functioning adult, teenager, whatever it is. So those are new downloads. Oh, your 10 minutes is up, Johnny. Where's my timer? Can you hear it? It's not very loud, is it? It's good. It's on the orange bag? No, it's not the one that's going. Whoa, what's wrong? Oh, it's this one. Sorry, guys. See? But you can hear how loud it is. It's not super loud. So these are why I say these ones in classrooms, because the last thing you want, some of those ones are really loud and will disrupt the whole class. This is quite quiet, so it doesn't disrupt everyone. Alrighty. So that's the morning routine, individualized. You can change it how you want. It's static. We just pop it up on the wall by her bedroom. There's a sense of accomplishment in them being able to move the tasks as well. And that's what we say when we're doing a visual schedule in schools. Let them be able to move the tasks so that they can see they're succeeding, they're moving forward, they're getting success. And that's the afternoon. And we want to exemplify high expectations for all of our kids. All right, individual schedules. So these can be procedures and things like that, what you want to do for the day. These are super important during holidays. So when a child goes on holiday, we sort of just go, oh, good, we made it through the term. Okay, let's, just relax for a bit. And I totally get it. But if we don't keep some structure in their day, going back the next term can be incredibly hard, and we can go backwards. So we want to try and keep as much structure as we can during the holidays. And it can be all fun, but we still want to teach them this is how. And so whatever the teacher's using at school, I would recommend you use at home, the visual. So if they're using a visual like this, use this one at home. They're using something else, ask for a copy of it so that you can exemplify at home. The other thing too, and this is just an added bit, please don't neglect reading during the holidays, because children move backwards. And you can imagine how far back we can end up if we don't continue to read to our children or read with our children, that sort of thing. But keeping the schedule, then this is a movable one. This one has a little box at the bottom so that they can pull it off and put it down so that they feel a sense of accomplishment. Again, they'll start to see it moving. I've got to move a bit faster. Cheap one, just get a ring binder. What's it called? A clipboard. Put some Velcro on it. Or you can just have a visual like that. Right, procedures, washing my hands, going to the toilet, use them at home as well as school. Schools using them, try and get the one the school's using and use it at home. That consistency and the consolidation. Visual recipes, they're available readily on the internet. They're a great way to teach children to follow a procedure, building that ability. Cheese sandwich, that's a bit of a harder one where it's got the words as well. And then I'm just going to talk quickly about emotional self-regulation at home. Alrighty. I've only got a few minutes, so I better hurry. Alright, so we want to keep routines as much as we can. And we want to, and know that your child is mirroring what you're displaying. So if you're anxious, and I know it's hard, like we're all human, but if you're anxious or you're angry or you're upset or you have bad relationship with the school or you're saying bad things about the school, the child will mirror that and will get a behaviour behind that. So you need to be very mindful of that. Making sure that we offer our calming breaks even at home as well. Mindfulness activities, do them together, colouring, puzzles, whatever your child enjoys doing. Make sure your mindfulness activities, do them together, build that emotional regulation together where there's that support for the child. And then intentionally focusing on it. So things like Simon Says and musical statues and operation, they require that concentration, that thought, the zoning out where they're not thinking so much about what's happening and they can just calm their centre. So that was quick. That is my presentation, and I hope that you understand that your child's behaviour is not, and I hate the word naughty, because a child is not naughty. The child is not getting what they need. So we've got to make sure that their behaviour is seen as a communication. And we know that children with Down syndrome are visual learners and need that visual input. So therefore, utilising the visuals will assist to help that. So, yeah, I hope you've learnt something. Please feel free. I think there's a slide for your downloads. So behaviour management is more than the conformity of the present. It is knowing the individual, meeting them where they are, gauging their needs and doing what you can to ensure they feel secure, safe and heard, negating the need for the unwanted behaviour to ever occur. All our downloads are on our website, which is a little bit hard to find. So if you can't find it, just email me and I'll shoot you the link. Okay? But yeah, please feel free, download, share, encourage your schools to do it, encourage your daycare centres, nannies. My mum and dad use it too. They use visuals as well. So, everyone can be using anyone who's interacting with your child. But thank you. Are there any questions? Yes.
Hang on.
I found that my boy is really liking pictures of himself. So I've been taking photos of him, but I'm wondering if that's okay.
No, we would prefer that.
Yeah.
So that takes a lot more time and energy.
I'm just worried, when he goes to school, they're going to be using board maker.
You
visuals.
Give them all the photos. As long as you're happy to share those photos, you can absolutely put I would prefer, and it is more beneficial to use pictures of your child. So social stories, I hate those cartoon pictures they use because the child's like, well, that's a cartoon picture. What's that got to do with me? If you put a picture of Johnny in there showcasing what Johnny needs to do, you're going to have heaps more success. So absolutely keep doing it. Absolutely use your child when you can. Yes. Sorry, is that your question? That's good. That's perfect.
There you go. And we're males. We want to have photos.
Do you have any recommendations for moving from a preferred activity to a non-preferred activity?
From a preferred activity to an offer. Yes, okay, so I just had to get my head around that. Yes, so showcasing that, it wasn't long before you got your preferred activity, so I'm getting confused. So showcasing that they are going to then again get that preferred activity. So making sure visually they can see that preferred activity is coming again and recognizing that it's not going to take me that long to get there. So that's when I talk about increasing the time increment slowly. So you might start with a minute.
So for example, when we're going back inside after lunchtime.
Yes. So going back inside after lunchtime is a whole different sort of behaviour realm. So why aren't they going back in after lunchtime? Is it because they want to play more? Is it because they're trying to escape work? Is it because something's coming up that they don't like? So if it's just because they want to play more, then I would incorporate a timer of the countdown of when we're going and then a reward for returning back to class. So I wouldn't do a then and now for that. I would do a reward system in that one, in that element, in that circumstance sort of thing. So I'd be like, you go to class, then you get your reward, but putting the time up before Thank you. Yes. Can you tell my brain checked out then? I'm like, what was I saying? So playground and things like hiding after play and that type of thing. It's again about training. Like, you go back and, it's just
So she's happy enough in the classroom when she's in there.
Yep.
But if it's a choice between monkey bars and school,
Yep.
But our issue is we can't actually find anything that she wants more than the monkey bars.
Right. Not peers, teacher interaction. Yeah. Okay, let's talk. Because I'll probably need to ask some more questions. Yep, definitely. Hit me up at lunch. Anything else? I'm all good.
Don't forget you can ask at lunch.
How do you keep it all in this, or I'm looking for an amazing way to keep it all organised?
I blue tack it on my walls at home. So each wall has something different on it. So outside my daughter's bedroom is the schedule of her morning. On her way in from the garage is the afternoon. So it's very strategically placed around my house. Things like then and next, I would just print off 10,000 of them, and just have them in each room sort of thing. You might get a Kmart plastic container for the then and next. I don't have it. I mean, if you can get Home Edit to come and show me how to organise, that would be great. But yeah, for the ones that my daughter is utilising and pulling off herself, I keep on the walls and I keep it above the reach of my toddler. So that's another one because he'll start pulling them off.